Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie, and this channel is chronicling my journey of living my best life with multiple chronic health conditions. Today I thought I would give a therapy update. I've been in therapy for a few months now, and at first I wasn't sure how it was going. I kind of had my doubts that it was doing anything, but I think there's been at least some more realizations or sort of ownership of the realizations than I've had in the past. So I thought I'd share because that's what this channel is about. I'm just sharing my life. One of the I don't know if it's a new realization, but I don't know if I've ever heard someone put it into words before, was just sort of my lack of like growing up with someone who was behind you like 100%, like with no strings attached type of thing. I'm not in any way saying that my great aunt and grandma and everyone didn't love me unless XYZ. That's not what I'm saying. Brain fog. This is not the first video I'm recording this morning, so words are difficult. They've been difficult this whole week. I don't know what's going on. But what I'm trying to say is, for example, as I've said before, when I would be in school and I would bring home a report card, if I didn't have an A, it was sort of like, why don't you have an A? You should have an A. Even if it was an A minus, that's not an A. So it was always sort of like you had to perform at a certain level, and that was even with teachers at school. If I didn't get an A, they'd sort of make snide remarks. If I said I didn't understand something and asked for help, they didn't believe me because they just expected that I would understand stuff. So I didn't grow up feeling like anyone was ever proud of me or anything like that. So when asked if I'm proud of myself for any of the things I've done, I always say no. And some people in therapy in the past, they've just sort of been like, are you kidding? Like, what are you talking about? And I don't think I was believed by prior therapists, at least one of them. So just sort of taking ownership of that reality that I didn't really have that growing up, and that's definitely influenced my thoughts and how hard I am on myself now as an adult. For example, I work, and obviously at work you get feedback on how you're doing. If you forget to do something, or you charted something wrong, or whatever, you get feedback, no big deal. Well, when I first started working and I would get emails, and the subject line would be missing element, I forgot to put something in the chart, my heart would sort of race, that instant uh-oh thing your body does, because I'm expecting someone to tell me I'm not good enough and why aren't you doing this perfect and everything like that. And my job's not like that. And it took a while, but eventually now when I get those emails, my body no longer responds that way. Or if it does, it's a much lower extent. We do get a lot of feedback every month as to how we're charting, because in the medical field that's very important. You want the documentation to be basically perfect. And every time I get a feedback email, I have a kind of a small uh-oh response, but nowhere near to the extreme I had at the beginning. So I think that's really good. I think this has been good for me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to be, simply because I've never gotten feedback on a consistent basis like I am with this job. So I've never had the opportunity to sort of dampen that automatic PTSD response. So that's been good, and just being in a supportive environment has been good at work, albeit very strange. There was one other thing I wanted to say about the therapy realizations, and it has left my brain. I was going to write it down, but I'm like, oh, it's just 2 things. You got this. Apparently, I don't got it. Oh, so I've talked about it before. I don't really understand emotions. I sort of use emotion words because I intellectually understand what they are, but I don't understand if they're separate from like taking your thoughts and your body sensations and putting them together and then coming up with an emotion that fits the situation. So yeah, sometimes I will get tearful, and obviously there's an emotion behind that. I have no idea what it is. I'll be in therapy, I'll be tearful, and she's like, well, what are you feeling? I'm like, I have no idea. It just happens. For a long time, I would like tell myself to stop crying because I was always told to stop crying growing up. Or if it was during the abuse, it was sort of punished to cry, so I've learned to not cry. And I've sort of been working consciously that if I get tearful, to not stop myself, like if my body needs to cry, to just allow it to cry. I'm still not great at it, but I'm getting better, and talking with my therapist, just talking either if I've started crying during the session or if I've started crying during a session and I've sort of said like, no, like it just happens sometimes, and she asked me like when, and I give her examples. So that's sort of been interesting since I've been tearful, crying more often, sort of connecting the dots as to like what the situation is and what could be causing it. And some of it I've known, like normally if I talk about being alone and like if something were to happen to me, no one would find me or no one would notice, no one cares. A lot of times I get tearful. Certain types of YouTube videos now make me tearful. They didn't used to, but they do now. And I see that as progress also, just that my body is allowing me to feel, even if I have no idea what I'm feeling or why I'm crying. And a lot of times the videos on YouTube either are about people being like welcomed home after like a long time. So again, going back to being alone, like there's no one to welcome me, there's no one to miss me or anything like that. And the other goes back to sort of the being proud, like when people accomplish stuff and they're getting like hugs and stuff like that, and just sort of owning that like I didn't have that, like it was just an expectation to do well. So doing well was nothing to be celebrated because that was the expectation. And like that's why I don't think I'm, or feel, whatever that means, proud of myself, because to me you're proud when you go above and beyond, and to me what looks above and beyond to others was just what was expected of me. So to me that's nothing to be proud of. I don't put that expectation on others. I don't want people to think I expect others to be perfect. I don't. But that's just how I was raised, and yeah. So it's been interesting in therapy just sort of talking about it, and as I recover, get over, deal with the PTSD, and my body, I guess, just feels safe enough to feel, realizing the situations and then looking back as to like why my body reacts that way, and then having someone to talk to it about and reflect why it's happening and sort of give that type of feedback has been helpful, I guess. Positive. I haven't really had a therapist in a while, and yeah, they haven't all been great. So yeah, all that to say, it's going well. Right now what we're working on is I'm trying to notice events during my life that should evoke emotion, and then in therapy we'll talk about the events and like what I was thinking or what my body was doing, and then sort of try to piece together like what emotion that was. So yeah, that is how therapy is going. Again, it's a little longer video. I apologize. But that's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys are having a good day whenever it is you're seeing this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.